Greetings! Welcome to this episode of Everyday Enchantment. I am so excited because today we are going to be talking to Kelly Backert of Core Boot Camps, Core Yoga, Bar and Yoga, all sorts of amazing things that my guest is going to be here chatting about with us today. And our focus is all about exercise and enchantment because I have a feeling most of us do not think of magic and enchantment and delight when we're thinking about exercise. So Kelly is here to help us turn that upside down and have a different, maybe be open to a different perspective on how moving our bodies really is a breadcrumb, a pathway to really feeling more enchanted and delighted in our lives. So we are going to jam about that today. And before we do, and we break into just getting to it, I want to tell you a little bit about Kelly. So Kelly is one of the most extraordinary women, entrepreneurs, people I know on the planet. She has started her own businesses from scratch. She goes out, she is a badass entrepreneur, bringing to the community, which I am a part of, thankfully, just a new attitude about working with your body, working with food, being in relationship with being healthy and mental well-being as part of that health, not just how much can you lift and what your physical body's going to say, but Kelly really does bring that holistic approach in a fun way. I have never had more fun and sweated more working out with Kelly. She's also I want to say master certified trainer, and please correct me if I'm wrong about that. And she just lives and breathes all of this in such an insightful way that really to me helped me change my own relationship, especially around exercise. But we just, as you know, most of you, if you've dialed into us before, we love a great juicy conversation. So without further ado, Kel, did I miss anything about your bio or
I don't think
incorrectly say
so.
something? Okay.
I don't think so. Thank you. It was really nice. I loved all that.
You're welcome.
I love
So
listening to
welcome.
people say nice things about me.
I know. I'll
Yeah,
follow
no,
you
and
around
I think this
in your
is such an
calendar.
important conversation, especially right now as we're kind of jumping into spring and then going into summer, and there's this emphasis on putting the shorts back on, the swimsuit and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So I think it's a really important conversation.
I completely agree. And I don't know why, but in the last week, even though it's been kind of cold here, I've been feeling that energy. Like I feel people are like, oh, I need to lose that 10 pounds or that 20 pounds in order to be summer ready or whatever
Yeah.
that is. I feel like once the spring starts to blossom a little bit, people feel this like inner pressure. It's almost kind of a second wave after the new year, right? Where all the
Yes.
resolution people are feeling that anxious at like in that period, and that kind of dies off a little bit, and then the weather gets warm and people are really like, oh, I'm going to be wearing a sleeveless top and my arms are ready or whatever they're saying.
Right. No, I agree. So
Yeah.
the problem I see most of the time with people with exercise is it's a beating down of themselves.
Mm.
Instead of coming at it from like a
Mhm.
place of like compassion for
Yeah.
themselves and strength, they're coming at it from a white knuckle. Like
Yeah.
I have to do this and I have to do it rapidly. And that's why
Mhm.
every year their New Year's resolution is the same thing. And
Over and over.
they never accomplish those goals. I think it's seeing it as like a means to an end. Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go at a really rapid pace. Like I'm gonna go to the gym every single day for 60 days. It's like these 60-day challenges, 90-day challenges, and
Right.
I'm gonna eat clean, whatever that means, right?
Yes.
Which is a whole other conversation. But I'm gonna eat clean, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna work out every day, and then I'm gonna do, and then they jump into an exercise program that they don't enjoy. One,
Yeah.
they too that hurts their body, especially as
Mhm.
we're getting a little bit older. And it's not a lifestyle change, it's not long term. And then they're coming at it from that place that I just spoke about. So whenever you're coming, whether it's with food or with exercise, either one of those things, when you're coming at it from a place of like gripping and trying to hold on, it's never going to work long term. I think that There's something interesting to me that happens to you when you start to exercise and do exercises that work for you. Because what happens is, although it may be challenging while you're doing it, because sometimes, I mean, a lot of
Mhm.
exercise, sometimes even just going for a walk can be a bit of a challenge, but it's sometimes. But I think that it's the it's the feeling good. It's not, people are always like, "Oh, the endorphins and all that stuff." So we kind of already know all of that. We already know, a lot of us already have looked into all the different science behind exercise. But what my point is that, like, it can give you, exercise for me is a spiritual thing. It's
Mhm.
a mental thing. It's an emotional thing. It's not just a physical thing. And it's super important to me for my well-being. For me, it's become something like brushing my teeth. Movement matters to me. Now, the movement doesn't look the same to me every day. The move Sometimes I'm not going to go, battle it out with some battle ropes or something like that. Sometimes it's just a nice, easy, flowing yoga class, or sometimes it's a walk, or sometimes it can look different if I'm paying attention to my body and I'm asking my body what it needs. A lot of people, we aren't doing that. We're bypassing that because we're in such a hurry for an end game. Like, I need to have this tone of a body. I need to have this, I have to have, this much weight loss. I have to have, when you're coming at it from that place, it never works. It may work for short term. Don't get me wrong. Cause some people will push back on me. Well, my friend did this, Weight Watchers, and my friend did this, went to this trainer and she lost 80 pounds in 6 months. Okay. So call me in a year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and not to be mean about it.
No,
When
no.
whenever you're going, if you're not coming, for me personally, I'm even gonna say this, I'm gonna even take a bigger stance on this, a bigger jump. I
Mhm.
believe that if you don't have some sort of, and when I say this, this can be whatever it means to the people listening, but if you don't have some sort of spiritual practice or some kind of guidance, like inner knowing, you if you're not listening to yourself, it's not going to work for the long term. We want it to work for the long term because we want you to feel really good. The reason I exercise is because I want to feel really good and I want to be at the highest energy to serve my purpose on the planet. When I come from that perspective, hey, I want to exercise so I can be stronger and I can show up for my family, my friends, my clients, for the world, for my purpose on the planet. When I say it like that, that's empowering. My body feels that, and I can go into every day a little bit differently. If you're coming from self-hate, if you're coming from this place of, I have to work out because I have to lose 5 pounds, because I have to get into those jean shorts, because I have that, that is makes you smaller. It's not empowering, it's not helpful, and it's not going to work long term to not like reach your goals, so to speak, but just to live your best life.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me because if you that none of like what you were talking about when you're in that have to energy feels at all magical. Like I was talking with another guest, and we were talking about the path to disenchantment, right? Like, yeah,
Mhm.
make yourself do this. When you skip over this relationship partnership with your body and you make yourself a problem you have to solve, something you have to fix, right? This weight
Mhm.
loss is something I have to fix about myself. You disconnect from the part, like the human part of us, like to your point, this mental, emotional, spiritual piece. And when we are disconnected like that, to me, that's like the quickest way to be in a life, even if it's not your whole life, that doesn't feel that good. It feels heavy, it feels pressured, it feels, you're I've done it. I've done the crazy exercise routines for 2 hours a night. And you're right, it wasn't even that I was doing it, right, to be sustainable. I was like, "Oh, I need to fill my time. I was doing it for another reason, which I think
100%.
is a really interesting, right? When you start to look at your relationship with movement, what do you believe? What do you think about it? There's usually something underneath that that then is way revealing about, for me, I know while I was going through my divorce and I was exercising these 2 or 3 hours a night, I was lonely. I didn't know who I was anymore. I wanted to like look the perfect thing because I thought, well, if I look that way, I'll feel better. I mean, literally had that idea in my head. And so it was never enough to
Yeah.
just, right? Like run 5 miles and run 6 miles and then do this and do, like all of that restriction for me because my life felt so out of control in so many other ways that it got channeled through, the way I ate and the way I exercised.
Mhm.
And to me, I guess one of the things that why this conversation is so important is like, let's stop for a second and really look at how are you in relationship with exercise? How are you in relationship with your body? I loved how you said it's about getting to and empowering yourself when you're in that kind of
Mhm.
relationship. It's like, yeah, then you're probably not going to do the same thing every day because you really are in the moment of what feels best. Like if you just went out and ran 8 miles, today, you're probably gonna do something completely different that doesn't look like this pounding and just grinding through, which I think, again, the grinding has got to go.
Yeah. Well, and
In
it
this
and
context.
well, and as you age, it will have to go because what will happen is your body will get injured.
Yeah.
A lot of the people listening probably have injuries, maybe from exercise, maybe from not, whether it's just an age thing of like my knees,
Mhm.
my back, my neck, whatever
Mm.
that is, right?
Yeah.
So it is oftentimes we use exercise just like we use food. We use it because something else feels out of control. And so that's something that we can control.
Yeah.
So we use a lot of people oftentimes, and I've seen it and I've done it myself. And it sounds like you, and obviously you have too. This is idea of we're using exercise for something other than exercise.
Yeah.
We aren't using it to empower ourselves, to feel more confident, I don't even know that you and I were using it to actually lose weight as much as we were probably using it to avoid other things.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
you're exhausted physically, it's interesting. You don't have the capacity to really have the energy to really go full in with yourself in other ways. I
Yeah.
think it's an avoidance thing. I used it to avoid. I can use a lot of things. So I used relationship with men, I used alcohol, I've used a lot of different things, and exercise is one of the things I used. And I think it also gave me, when I didn't exercise, it gave me like this excuse to like beat myself up and to not feel about myself.
Mhm.
And really, what I was feeling bad about may have been a relationship with someone at work or a relationship with a friend. Instead of dealing with that head on and
Mhm.
taking, because it's
Yeah.
hard, and to be vulnerable, I just pounded myself into the ground and and I made myself, oh, I'm really upset about my weight. I'm really upset because I didn't exercise today. But what I was really upset about is that I was having issues with my marriage, or I was really
Mhm.
upset when I was having, because I had a really bad fight with my boss at work, or I really had, so it was an avoiding thing for me. It was a control thing. And how I was doing the exercise was how I was doing everything else. I was
Mhm.
going really rapidly. So I was eating really rapidly. I was going through my life really, really rapidly, full of anxiety, full of fear. And it wasn't until, and the interesting thing about this is like, I think the major pushback about this conversation that you and I are having is if someone is overweight,
Mhm.
seriously overweight, and their doctors have suggested they lose some weight, they are they're listening to this conversation and they're getting very upset because their pushback on it is, well, I have to lose weight. You don't understand. Like, so how what I'm going to say is, I'm not telling you that you can't lose weight. I'm not saying that that's something, maybe that's something that is, I believe that it happens through compassion and self-love and slowing down and using your own
Mhm.
intuition and
Yes.
seeking out exercises that feel good to you. Does it mean that it's not hard? No, it can sometimes be hard, but does it feel good to you afterwards? Is it sustainable? Is it like, is
Mhm.
it like, you don't have to make yourself into a 7 day a week runner when you don't like running. Like, so it's interesting. I don't you don't have to go on a restrictive diet to lose weight. Like, you can come at it from a different place. Will it be slower? Will you have to deal with certain things? Yes. Will you have to walk up to yourself and deal with a few things? Because oftentimes, if we are someone who yo-yo diets, undereats, overeats, or uses food in a way of trying to numb ourselves out, there's some things that we're going to have to look at, and there's some things we're going to have to discuss, whether it be with a coach like you, whether it be with someone like me, whether it
Mhm.
be with a therapist, whatever that looks like to you. I feel like because there it is important to talk about it and to get some tools in your back pocket to help you through that journey. But that journey to me feels more sustainable and feels better than every spring, every new year, I have the same exact weight loss goal. And I go this way 20 pounds, and then this way 50 pounds, and then this way 5 pounds, and then this way. Like you're all over the place. And your body feels all over the place because you're all over the place.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to me too, because as I'm listening to you speak, what I'm hearing kind of between the lines is a lot of us have used exercise not to feel. So to me, a life enchanted, absolutely we're going to feel and be in the messiness of humans, but we are being human, I should say, but we haven't really been taught how to do that. That hasn't been nurtured in our culture. And so exercise is like a way to I think we try to almost like bypassing, right? Like it would be its own version of like, okay, I don't really want to feel all these difficult emotions. So I'm just going to pound myself and my body. I know I've done this. This is why I
Me
can
too. Me too.
speak to it. And it's like, versus when you slow down to your point, all of a sudden, whatever it is you're running from, almost literally and metaphorically, is there. And so, can I lean into the feelings of it so that again, my body isn't just used to be, whatever this showpiece, right? Of like whatever my weight is and whatever it becomes this extension of us and our energy and how we show up in the world and this kind of our spiritual beings as well too. We can't, I think most of us again have spent some time skipping that piece. It's like using it in a way that and again, and when you do that, if it doesn't feel good, it feels like it feels I will keep the curse words to a minimum, but you can fill in the blank what it feels like. Nobody ever got up and said, "I can't wait to do." No, you're like talking yourself into it. You're reading a book to try to figure out what other people are doing to make themselves do it when you're
Well,
making
we're
yourself
always trying,
stop.
I think for women and especially, there's this idea of we have to keep shrinking ourselves.
Yeah.
And I also there's a couple of things that I was thinking about while you were talking, and it it's interesting to me. There's a deep-rooted belief system, and it's all over. It's in images, it's in social media of it has to be really, really hard. Like, everything has to be super hard. Like you said, I actually believe that, like, you can make, your relationship with food and your relationship with exercise and movement, you can make it fun. You can make it more lighthearted and still and there's a saying that says, like, we're always digesting things. So we're digesting
Mhm.
all the things that are going in the world. So we're going on in the world. So even if you're on a really restrictive diet, I actually think how you're digesting your food, if you're going at it very rapidly or very anxious or however you're doing it, however you're digesting your life, you're
Mhm.
digesting your food. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting way to look at it. But I think there's this belief system that it has to be really hard to have nice health and
Yeah.
to have a healthy, strong body, it has to be super hard and it has to be this and it has to look a certain way and you have to go to the gym for 2 hours a day and you don't understand because this is what has to be done. And it's
Mhm.
this idea of and that's discipline and see how
Yeah. Let's break
horrible.
it. Let's break it. So tell me, so for our listener, somebody who's saying, "Yes, yes, I want it to be easier and more fun." Where do they start, Cal? What
They
what what
start
what what do they do?
well, like I'm not a behavioral therapist, but I've
Okay.
spent a lot of time in therapy office. Okay, does that help? So behavioral therapists, they'll take something and what they like to do is they take a behavior and they break it down, break it down, break it down.
Mhm.
Like if I was afraid to get on an airplane, they might have me just drive to the airport first,
Yes.
right? And come home.
Yes.
So they break it down into little pieces. So I would say that. I would say break it down into little
Yeah.
pieces. Like maybe tomorrow you just go for a walk. And
Mhm.
then the next day, maybe you find a friend to go for a
Yeah.
walk. And then maybe you can like, you know, hey, I'm gonna get on the bike at the gym for
Mhm.
10 minutes. breaking it down and then building yourself up to what really feels good to you. Or you might remember something in your head. You might think, you know what? When I was younger, I used to really love to dance. And
Mm.
so I remember this was a while ago. I don't think I've ever told you this, but
Mm.
I used to tap dance when I was little. So I probably like 10 years ago or something, I went and took a tap dance. Like I was terrible. Oh my gosh, I was terrible. But anyway, besides that point,
I did tap dance. I don't know what I don't. Who knows what I'd be like now?
was terrible. But I was pretty good when I was little, but it was so much fun and it didn't
Yes.
feel like exercise to me, although I was sweating and although it was real like so finding something that might be fun. And then another thing is even besides the exercise, because obviously that's what we're talking about, but here's something interesting to think about too. If we can work on this idea of comparing ourselves to old versions of ourselves,
Mm.
comparing ourselves to new versions of ourselves, this idea, this size 2 idea, and
Mm.
then comparing ourselves to other people. Because that what that does is it blocks our energy. And
Mm.
we're not going to have a lot of energy to show up even for a walk around the block if I'm feeling so defeated because I hear that a lot from women especially, but men too. Oh, when I was 16, I was a state championship swimmer and I da da da. And that's amazing. And I love to hear those stories. But you're 60.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean?
And you're in a
Like,
60-year-old body.
like
Yeah.
relax a little bit. Like
Yeah.
you like relax, take a deep breath.
Yes.
That doesn't mean now go to a swim class. Like that doesn't mean I
Absolutely.
mean that's but
But
changing it.
trying to
But I can't but
recreate. Yeah.
people are like that. Well, when I'm gonna go back to running 16 miles a day because when I ran 16 miles a day, I was a size 2. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that was I don't care if that was 5 years ago. Our bodies are changing. They change daily, they change yearly, they change hourly. What
Yeah.
I did and what I ate 5 years ago, I can no longer do. This I'm just saying this personally.
Yeah.
I used to eat the same breakfast. Oh, I cannot even eat that food anymore because it makes me shaky and it doesn't give me energy anymore. That
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago. But my body is changing. My body is evolving. I'm accepting that. And so it's about working on even though it's about the exercise, it's also about coming back to our breath. That's why meditation is important. That's why working with a coach is important. That's why working maybe with a trainer is important because surrounding yourself with people that will help you with this process is super important. Because you and I would say to a client, um, if they're like, "Oh, I just didn't feel like going for my walk today," we'd probably say, "Well, why is that?" And then if they said, "Well, I was looking on social media and I mean, just this feels so overwhelming to me." And no. So it's this idea of us comparing our feelings on the inside. We've said this before, how we
Mhm.
feel on the inside to these images that we're seeing online. So that's a big thing too. But it's
This
acceptance.
is all on the path of this is the quick path to disenchantment.
Yeah. So
Don't
exercise
get
is
us I mean, I
right.
shouldn't even say don't because I've done it too. Notice when you do and see how quick like, I
Yeah.
can really redirect myself now and say, "What's going on here? Because 'Cause I'm playing this game with myself that is not any fun." And so
Yeah.
am I just feeling a little bit down, and can I feel like, again, back to can I feel that rather than going on and playing that compared despair game? Because 'cause you're right, nobody wins
Well,
in
and
that
you feel
place.
defeated and you don't feel like moving.
Right.
And so you're going from this really um difficult perspective of yourself. And then like a lot of people compare themselves to versions of themselves that they've made up in their mind. So that's another one that people tend to do. So it's this idea of like when I get to this size and when I look like this,
Mhm.
then my life will start. I
Yes.
can't tell you how many people have said to me, "I will start exercising when I lose 10 pounds."
Yeah.
Instead of like, no, like you could like it's an interesting thing that we do, but because exercise is so emotional and it is so mental, we kind of play games in our minds with that type of thing. And it cuts our energy and it stops us from doing just little movements. And it doesn't work very well.
It's funny to me. Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that when we attach to an outcome, that's part of it as well too. I'm doing this. This was me. This is my life. 15 years ago. I'm doing this because, right? I want I want my body to perform at whatever this is. And I had kind of my own kind of come to Jesus moment, I don't know, 6 months ago now. I've been on this path with health and well-being in my body and exercise for a long time. I
Mhm.
still lean in, right, when things show up. And it was interesting because I remember thinking like, to your point, and it related to my whole life, it's like I'm like demanding of my body of something. It's like, you need to do this, you need to be perform this way, and when I do this, this is the expectation. Which I can remember just even in my childhood, right? People saying, adults saying that to me, you need to do this and this is the expectation. It felt horrible, and yet part of me has can recreate that, right? Because it's something I know and I'm familiar with. And I realized that it was like, what if I just went out for a walk because I want to see the birds and I want to enjoy myself, and there isn't some tie to it. I think when you start moving for different reasons, to your point, versus the like, I need this outcome, I need whatever, I need the reassurance that I'm okay. Like, I'm making my body to be the thing that is going to make me feel okay in this world. And what I've learned is anytime we're putting demands on ourselves or other things outside of us, you're always, to your point, you just said it a couple of minutes, you're chasing it and you're always in this like the
Yes.
hamster wheel, and it never feels, you're never going to take a breath and feel like, oh. And it was funny. I was actually in one of your classes, your bar classes, a couple of weeks ago, and I was joking because I said, I was saying to another person in the class, you look amazing. And I said, your 10-year from now self is going to look back at your now self, because I do that all the time, and go, instead of comparing, like I need to be there, but just like, you were so beautiful and vibrant. And I missed it. I missed it trying to
Yes.
get somewhere else, that I totally just didn't even see how incredible you already
Well,
are.
and not only did they miss that, but they missed but because they were so focused on, hating themselves and hating their
Mhm.
bodies and being in that not enoughness,
Yeah.
they missed lots of relationships
Yeah.
and lots of fun
Yeah.
because you were too busy on a diet
Yeah.
or on a and look, do you and I mean, this is a different topic for a different day,
Which
but
you will come
there
back.
is a
I know you will.
100%.
Yeah.
There is
We'll cook up the next one.
there is something I think kind of even just to kind of start to wrap this up. I think all I guess I'm saying is because people would say to me, "Well, you kind of do like you do the bike and you do the stairs, you do and I do that. And I have so much fun. But that's a whole other thing because I just have fun. Like I'm having the best there are certain things that I no longer do, and there are certain things
Mhm.
that I do, and I think that it's so much fun. I am having in all of my years on the planet right now has is actually one of the best times in my life with my body and my health and my strength and my exercise and my food because I don't have any rules for myself.
Mm.
They're gone. And it's so weird. And that was a process. And there's lots of things that we can talk about later with that. But it's, I think people are afraid to not have those rules. And that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. There's places we can start with that. But it is, I guess to kind of wrap it up is there can exercise be enchanting? Can you live a life with food and exercise that's enchanting and full of love and full of life and being yes. Yes. Yes, you can. Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm,
And I think what you just said, Kelly, the like at the end of that, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Oh, that sounds nice, but I don't know where to start, or I just don't think," start with what actually feels like fun. Go
mhm.
take a tap dance class. Again, I'm trying a bar class for the first time. I've
Those
never
are
done
fun.
bar before, but it's reminding me I did ballet back eons ago, and I'm like, "Oh, I remember pliés and other," like, it's kind of fun, and, like, I'm having a good time, and I
Me too.
think that has been one of my biggest non-rule rules, is like, do I actually enjoy this? Because what I'm realizing is if I really want to stay in enchantment or stay in a life that feels that way, as much as I can when I force myself to do stuff that really feels the opposite of that. That's like the fastest way to take me out of it. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love everything, and we are gonna pull some more of your threads in a future podcast, I am sure, because this is a big topic for everyone. I'm sure, and we're always listening and reading and getting different perspectives around these topics because I think our relationship with our body is such an important piece, again, to our intuitive wisdom, to our well-being, and we have such conflicting messages and really not so nice messages, particularly women, although I agree men also too have get it as well too, that like we're not okay as we are. So to me, this enoughness that you speak of that I know is such an integral part of your message, it's like even the 5 minutes is enough, right? That can be magical, and all of that together can start to you can start to little baby step into something that feels so much more authentic to you rather than whatever everybody else is telling you to do that you're wishing
Yeah.
you weren't doing. All
And
right,
find
so
a support system.
yeah,
Find a group.
absolutely.
Find a group of friends, find
Yes,
a coach like you, find someone like me.
do it,
Start there. If you
do
don't
it.
know where to start with some support with people who are kind of
Absolutely.
have that like-minded. I mean, it was super important for me through this process of kind of coming from a place of beating myself up in an eating disorder to where I am today. There was a lot of people I had to surround myself with and a lot of support that needed to happen to kind of and continues to be a support. So
Yes.
finding those people, finding that group, finding that fun class, finding that coach, finding that trainer, finding that and one that really feels good to you. If it doesn't feel good to you, then listen to that, right? Because there's a lot of it out there too.
There
But
is.
I think if that's what we were going to end on, I would say if you don't know
Yeah.
where to start, there's we're out here and
Mhm.
there are and if that doesn't feel good to you, reach out to us and we'll tell you where to go because I have lots of resources and I can be of service in that way.
Absolutely. So, Kelly, if people are interested in finding out more about you, where can they go?
Well, I'm on Facebook at Kelly Backert and Core Boot Camps and Core Barn Yoga.
Great.
You could
Which I
probably
will put in the show notes as links so
okay,
people
yeah, and
can
then
find
just
you
put in the
easily.
show notes like my
Yeah.
email. We'll just do the core boot camps at
Okay.
gmail.com. So people can email me there or yeah, an email or a message or something like that would be great.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful, like, ending message. And I love this. Enchantment isn't in a bottle by yourself alone on an island. So let the people you love, let it be community and fun and let it again, if you don't find the right fit right away, keep looking because it's out there. That's
Mhm.
how I met you so many years ago. I was on I was on a year-long search for a really amazing trainer. And it took me many, many people and lots of patience to find you. But again, it was well worth the wait. And for anybody out there who is doing something that doesn't feel quite right, trust your gut, trust your intuition and your knowing. And the person or whatever it is you're looking for is out there and does exist.
Yeah.
So until next time, we will be bringing, I know I'll be bringing Kelly back in to talk about, we could talk about this again, I'm sure. If you have a question or you want some more information, please come to my free Facebook community and group, Everyday Enchantment. You can ask a question about this episode. You can pose a topic you want Kelly and I to delve into further. We love feedback and we love to hear about all of what's going on with you so that we can make this as most and relevant as much relevance and meaning for the listeners as possible. So until next time, we will see you on the flip side.
Bye.
That's it for now, loves. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Get all the juicy details and links we've mentioned in the show notes. If learning more about how you can use your own enchantment to live a oh hell yes life, come get your own coaching session with me by going to staceyandon.com and signing up for my homepage. And as always, come chat with me about this topic and all things enchantment in my Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment. See you on the flip side.